Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas, on Wednesday, March the 25th. And welcome to our commentary. As we like to do once a week, we're chatting with our good friend Bill Katz, the editor of Urgent Agenda. We're going to get into a lot of Iran today. So let me say hello to Bill. Bill, welcome. Welcome. Beautiful day here. I don't know what it's like up there, but
It's
beautiful day in
reasonable.
North Texas.
It's reasonable up here. It's gotten warmer in the last week or so as spring begins to break in. So people are feeling somewhat optimistic that that will continue.
I was thinking about you when I heard that the Yankees and the Giants were opening the baseball season tonight. They have this opening night game that is like the game of the week on one of the cable channels. And I thought about you because when you used to go to uh, Ebbets Field back then, they didn't start the baseball season until like usually the middle of April.
That's right.
Uh, and in fact, Jackie Robinson made his debut April 15th, 1947, on the first day. So
Yes.
things have changed. I guess they thought back then that it was better to start the season when it was a little warmer.
Well, yeah, whatever it was, I mean, yeah, things have changed. I remember when I was a kid looking at the newspaper to read the scores of the day, and there was this kind of little box with eight teams on one side and eight teams on the other side. Uh, a Western trip, as they called it, ended in St. Louis. Uh, some of us wondered.
Yeah.
There's a West outside. If you kept going, you get the real West. And now you have all these teams, and you have it's big time television and salaries that are impossible. And it's become basically a business, still a great game, but I think it has lost a lot of the luster as the national pastime.
Yeah. What's really interesting, not to get off too much on what the baseball that there was west of St. Louis, but there was in fact back then a Pacific Coast League
Yes,
that
that's right.
that was made up of many teams in the West Coast. It was a minor league, but that's where Joe DiMaggio came from. That's where Ted Williams came from those leagues. And if you go back and you look at some of the cities that were in that league, you had Seattle, you had San Francisco, you had LA, you had San Diego. It's almost like you're looking at Major League Baseball today, but it was a different league back then called the Pacific Coast League. So, there was a lot of baseball. It just wasn't Major League Baseball back then. I guess for reasons of travel, if nothing else. I mean, it's probably kind of hard to take a train from New York to San Francisco and still play a series that week.
Oh yes,
Back
yes.
then, I mean.
Well, oh, absolutely. Look, baseball baseball truly was the national pastime. When during the baseball season, if you ever remember the musical play "Damn Yankees,"
Yes.
there was a lot about that. That the men could not be reached because they were watching the game, and all that stuff. But that's what it was, and every kid in America, it was mostly boys, but every boy in America had a real baseball. You went to the store and they said, I want to buy the baseball they use in the majors, and
That's
if you
right.
got a major league ball, you were really a big shot in the crowd.
Yeah. Well, I just remember one time a gentleman that I met on a business call, and I started talking, and he was a huge fan of the Yankees in the late 40s. And he's also a big fan of the Brooklyn Dodgers as well. Not when they played each other, but at different times, I guess. But anyway, he said to me that in 1951, when the Yankees and the Dodgers had that special playoff to decide the National League, the one where the home run in the bottom of the ninth, that one, that Giants win the pennant. He said he was going to college in somewhere in Illinois, and then
Mm,
in the school cafeteria they had the game on the speaker.
yes,
People were actually, I mean, listening to that game on the speaker in
that
in a college in Illinois. I mean, you think that's what you mean by national pastime?
well, in my high school, when the if any of the New York teams were in the final competition, which in those days consisted of the pennant and the series. There was
Right.
nothing else. None of these fancy things they have nowadays. And if one of those teams was playing, they would turn on the speakers in the classrooms, and the classes were basically suspended. I remember hearing that on the speaker in my math class, the shot heard round the world.
Oh wow. The what was the name of the fellow who hit that ball?
Um,
Uh,
Branco was the pitcher.
yeah, Branca was the pitcher.
Who
Yeah,
was
and
the
yeah, I'm trying to think. It was a third baseman
yeah?
for the Giants.
I remember, and I can't remember his name.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
well, yeah, he's the subject of another great trivia question. Not only that one, but he's the subject of another great trivia question because he uh, was not feeling well in spring training 1954. They had traded him to the Braves. The Giants eventually traded him to the Braves
Hmm.
in 54. So he went to spring training, wasn't feeling well, and they said, take a day off, a few days off. We're going to play this kid named Hank Aaron. He's going to play for you for a few days. Well, Hank played for a lot longer than a few days,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I
yeah.
just thought that was yes. And the fellow had he was not even born in the United States, as I recall from his. Anyway, it'll come to us. You look it up, Bill.
Yes, yes. Well,
You have access.
I
You,
remember hearing it, and my next class was gym class, and it was like a funeral.
okay.
And the coach said, some things are lucky, other things are skill. I mean, we needed this. We needed
Yeah.
this. I mean,
Yeah. Nobody in the Brooklyn Dodgers thought you needed that, but that's okay.
that's right.
Trying to think of the guy's name. Ralph Branca was the pitcher, yes.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it'll come to me. It'll come to me because I should know that name, and it's somewhere in my brain. But anyway, speaking of New York, where you live in that area, you have a governor who's been going on TV here recently, calling on people to come back to New York and sort of do your patriotic duty and come back and bring your taxes back to New York.
Yes.
I'm not
Yes.
sure that's going to go over well, but that's what she's doing. She's also
Well,
changing the climate change or green energy or whatever they call it, because she said the last one or the one that she signed apparently is not the best.
No. New York right now is not a word you associate with the word best. It's.
Yeah.
I mean, we are.
I mean,
We are.
what an I mean, think about it though. How painful that must be for people who grew up there and who at one time associated New York with everything that was best.
That was it. At one time, New York was the place you went to
Yeah,
if you were at the top of something, if you
right.
were a leading soprano, opera soprano, if you were the founder
Anything.
of a great corporation. All these things were the writers of musicals like My Fair Lady. New York
That's
was
where
it.
most of the executive offices were.
Yes, of course, and but it isn't anymore. And
No.
I know people in New York real estate, city real estate, who say the city will never recover to where it was because it
Mhm.
can't. It doesn't have the funds. It doesn't have the population. There's been a change in population. It doesn't. It doesn't have the uniqueness that it had at one time. Many of the things you get in New York today, you could easily find in other cities.
Right.
And so a trip to New York is not what it was.
No, not at all. Not at all. And of course, the mayor of New York has been in the news, always in the news, it seems like. But his wife is, as they say, in the news for all the wrong reasons.
Yes.
She's really quite a treat.
Well,
Uh,
she is. She's a hardline a Muslim activist. She will not keep her mouth shut. She makes it plain that she has no problem with the horrible attacks on Israel that began the war, and she is supposed to be the first lady of all the people of New York, and has made it clear that she's not the first lady of anybody but herself. You-
Yeah, she's the first lady of her husband.
Yes.
And maybe people who voted for her who were like half or him, half of the city, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but you have to wonder how Andrew Cuomo must feel. I
Not
mean,
well. Not
not
well.
well, yeah, because he should have. I think he probably would have won normally.
Yes.
But anyway, so she's really quite a. What's the sad part about it, Bill? Looking at it from here, from a distance, is that she's a very young, attractive woman who I think, if she played her cards well, could be could be the toast of the country.
Exactly. She
She
could
could
be
be
a.
the Melania Trump of New York. Look at
That's exactly right. And she
Melania
and
Trump had this conference today with first ladies from all over the world.
yes.
And I mean, I thought that was very nice of
Yeah.
Mrs. Trump to do it. She could be doing the same thing, talking about kids' education and whatever, Instead,
Not
she's
not the type,
no,
unfortunately. And I mean,
no.
she's what happens at a ball game if she's introduced as the first lady of New York and nobody applauds? You know,
Maybe that's why they won't. Maybe
they were,
she won't be sitting down in the bleachers. She'll let him throw the ball,
yes.
and she'll be hiding somewhere. But I mean, that's assuming that Madani even knows what a baseball game is. I don't know. I wonder sometimes. I
He
wonder
is
sometimes.
he's not become Mr. Popularity.
No, he hasn't. What a. But I mean, she's really a treat. I'll say
Yeah,
that,
really is. Yep.
and she is really a treat. Now, speaking of the Democrats, before we get to Iran, there's one little more Democrat story here that I thought was interesting. The new governor of New Jersey, again, another moderate, we were told she was a moderate, goes to a meeting with I guess, a Muslim figure. And there's nothing wrong with that, I guess, just in principle. But she decides to get all dressed up as if she's a Muslim woman, I guess, out of respect to her guest or something.
Yeah.
But I remember, the prime minister of Italy went to a meeting with Muslim leaders, and she would not give up her Western attire.
Of course
She
not.
said, "Hey, I'm from the West. We don't dress like that."
That's right.
But here you have the governor of New Jersey. Who's giving that lady advice? How does that go over with the people of New Jersey? I mean, you don't have to be anti-Muslim
No, of
to
course
dress
not.
up like somebody from she's from the West. She's not from that culture.
That's exactly right. And she demeaned her own culture. She probably insulted the other one. And I don't know where she got the advice from, but as a general rule, New Jersey is not a place where you get good advice. You know,
No, that's probably one place you want to avoid when you're looking for advice. Yeah, you might want to move on to the next one. I think Pennsylvania or whatever's on the list. Well, one more little gem here, Bill, from the Democrats, or from the Democrats in California. As you know, they have this primary system where they put everybody in one primary, and there's a lot of shock coming out of California that the number one and number two in the polls are two Republicans. So you could conceivably, if it stays this way, but it's still a long time, you could have a Republican running against a Republican in California. Number one and
yes,
number two, those are the rules. So
that would be great, wouldn't it?
well, that would be, they probably changed the rules after that. But
yes, yes. Well,
but anyway,
declare it
yeah,
invalid.
yeah, that's right. But anyway, so there could be an election for the governor of California between two Republicans, which would be, I mean, that's almost too good to be true, or maybe, I don't know. It's just remarkable, but it could happen. But anyway, so one of the universities in California decides to do a debate and invite the top 5 or 6 people who are running in the polls. They looked at a bunch of different polls and the different averages, and they said, well, these 6 people here are the ones who are leading across the board. Therefore, we're going to invite them. Turns out that the 6 are white. And the university said, well, no, we can't do that. That's a lack of diversity. Well, wait a minute. Those are the people running.
That's it. You can't play. There's the old saying: you can't beat somebody with nobody.
Right. But I mean, if there's not a person of color, I love that word, a person of color, whatever that means. They say that there's no person of color in the ranking or in the polling data. Well, that's because nobody of color is running.
Yes, yes, they might decide to, get a candidate before the season begins.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is. There's no person of color who made the cut. So why is that all of a sudden racist?
Well, that's the way the game is played. I mean, that's that you have to have one of this and another of this. It's like almost like a recipe for a good dinner,
Right.
And yes, you've got to have the candidate. The candidate has to be reasonably attractive to the voters, able to stand up and define at least one issue, like
That's right.
gasoline prices,
That's right.
and okay, then we'll let you do it. But without that, you can't do it. I
But I mean,
it,
I just think it's so typical of what is wrong with. I think I lost Bill there for a
yeah,
second, but
yeah, yeah,
just
something happened.
yeah, there you go. Just go.
Yeah.
Please repeat what you said last because we lost you there for a second.
Well, we were just talking about this whole phenomenon of you have
Yeah,
to have
about the
a quota
and you said
system.
that they yeah. No, but I
Now,
just said that it speaks volumes about the Democrat Party. That's what I meant to say.
oh
And
yes,
there
well,
must be a bad connection because I lost you there for a second there, so I didn't catch everything you said. But I think um, you were saying that
I
you
was
can't beat somebody with nobody. Yeah,
yes. Well, I was going to say that that idea of quotas and things like that is not new. It's actually a very old idea that, ironically, I believe, originated in New York with what was known at one time as the balance ticket. There were a number of high-ranking officers in New York who were elected at one time: the governor, the mayor, this one, that one, and the Democratic Party came up with a gimmick where if you gave each important group one of those seats, they would call that the balance ticket. You had one person running for governor who was Irish, then the person running for mayor of New York might have been Italian, and they felt that they could satisfy all their groups that way, and to a certain extent they did. But that's it's actually an old idea.
yeah. Well, in California, this began, I guess, about 10 years ago, when they thought that it was a waste of time to
Yes,
have a Republican primary and a Republican candidate who was going to lose anyway. That they thought it would be better to have the top two, who they thought would be Democrats. And it did work that way the last time. But this year is like a nightmare because this year the top two at the moment happen to be two Republicans,
yes,
the one with the British accent
yes. That's
and
right.
the other one who's apparently the sheriff of LA, I think.
Yes, and I think the one with the British accent is going to win.
Yeah, it
I
looks
think,
like he is. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it would be, first of all, it would be wonderful for California to have a Republican governor
Yeah, at least he could
because,
veto something.
oh yes, I mean, right now you've got a state run by one party that isn't really that popular, but the gimmicks that can be used in the California election have put people in office who no one ever heard of,
Right.
and they have a government now made up of these traditional Democrats who will, during the campaign, do anything to become untraditional. They will start they will start loving extremism. They will show some understanding of terrorism. It's a terrible system. It really is, and I do hope that things will enough unusual things will happen this year so that the system gets shaken up.
Well, it needs to be because they
Yeah.
keep building bridges
Yes.
that don't work, trains that apparently never get to where they're supposed to get. I mean, it's just it's there's so much incompetence out there, and you talk to people here in the area who moved from California, and what they tell you is the same thing. They say, "Look, we're paying very high taxes. I don't mind if the taxes were if the city was actually working." They're saying if
Yes.
the state was working, the lights were on, the police was arresting criminals,
Of
the
course.
public schools were working. If all of that was working, yeah, I wouldn't mind paying taxes. I mean, I've heard that more than once, but
Uh,
nothing is
uh,
working except the
I think
tax collector. He's the only one,
that's
and
right.
it's
And
yeah,
if you look at the, well, we're having a little more technical trouble, I see. Are we on?
yeah, no, I guess it's on your end because I can, yeah, it's working on my end. So just keep going. It'll come back. Yeah.
Right.
Did you get
Okay.
this? Yeah.
But what is amazing is when you see what things cost in California,
Yeah.
that are done for much less money in other states, the corruption of California becomes clear. I mean,
Hmm.
they spend a fortune on education and get nothing for it. And it used to be the leading education state in the United States. It isn't
Right.
anymore, but they
No.
spend a fortune on it.
Well, it used to be. I mean, I can remember back in the 1980s that everybody wanted to work out there.
Yes,
Uh, I mean, many friends of mine from college and all of that would go work out there because there were so many opportunities, so many big companies out there, so many great careers out
oh
there,
yes, and they
and
had that. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say they were like beautiful neighborhoods,
Oh
beautiful
sure,
weather. The weather is still beautiful,
and
beautiful
it
beach.
it was the coming state. I mean, what the idea was that when things start in California, they eventually reach the whole country, because California had a certain power. It
Right.
also had industries that it no longer has. It used to be one of the major elements in the aircraft industry. Many of the big aircraft manufacturers were there. Uh,
Yes.
it,
Defense. There was a lot of defense industry out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was one of the national defense states. I mean, the Navy, of course, had ships coming into the big ports in California, big naval bases. Um, it was a state that many people learned about when they were in World War II, and they were part. They either were in California or passed through California on their way to the Pacific.
Right.
So they kind, at the end of the war, they kind of the war, they kind of had a built-in cheering section for California, and it for a while, many years actually, it was the state that people wanted to live in, but not anymore.
Well, I mean, I remember remember reading that the ship bringing the soldiers back from the Pacific, I think landed or disembarked in San Diego. So you have all these young guys getting out of ships and this great state of opportunity in front of them,
Yes,
and many would pick up the phone and tell their wife to be or their bride or even their wife who was living in somewhere else, say, "Hey, honey, let's live out here. This is where it's at." And for
yes,
many, that's where it's at. I mean, I hate to see that what's happened to California, is a tragedy, really, because I hate to see it happen to any state. I think we should have 50 productive states.
I agree.
And what we now have is a lot of red states that people are losing population, and or the blue states, that is. And it's the same reason in all of them. I mean, there's not a single difference between why people leave New York City than they leave LA. The same
Well,
thing.
very high cost and very high crime. Now,
And you get nothing for it. You get
well,
nothing for your
that's the
taxes.
point. That's the point. They want to now cut 5,000 police officers from New York City, and they say we don't need them. We have enough. I think they want to hire counselors or whatever it is. So if you have a major terrorist event, you immediately call for the local babysitter, and the babysitter will go into action and run down and stop the enemy. That's absolutely true. The states that at one time were seen as these shining examples, for the most part, have faded away, and other states have taken their place, especially Florida,
That's right.
which at one time was simply a place where you went on a winter vacation.
That's right. And too hot and too many mosquitoes. And that's what they used to complain about Florida, and too hot
Yes,
and too many, I mean, too much heat in Texas. That's what they used to say about
sure.
Texas. And now But anyway, I just think, but I think it's, one more point I'll make about California. This is crazy about the debate, what they're doing. I mean, I think that is insulting to the people of California, who the last time I checked, I think 45%, maybe 40% of the population was white. So, I
Yes.
mean, I guess they're people too, I guess, we hope.
Yeah.
And a debate like this, I mean, saying, well, no, we're going to cancel the debate because there's not enough diversity. Well, that's crazy. That's just, maybe we should cancel these universities because there's too much madness in people running
Well,
these
I
universities.
was going to say that's going to be the next big story, I think, in America, and that is the colossal failure of American education. And what do we do about it? And look, it's possible for us to have a good national debate. You're going to get the same issues brought up, that this is all a racist conspiracy,
Right.
and really what we really need is for everything to be like the universities, because when it comes to universities, you have a lot of faculty members with a lot of power within that university, and that's going to be a tougher go than a lot of other things. But we
Well, it will be in California because the public sector's union is so powerful.
yes,
But here in Texas, they've gone after these universities with stuff like DEI, and the legislature is having the last word. So at least in Florida too. That's so. I mean, you do have progress, but again, it's all red states versus blue states. I
oh,
mean,
absolutely. But well, there's a lot of people moving from New York into central states, like Nashville, Tennessee.
right?
We have some friends who are living in Nashville, Tennessee. I don't think you're going to find too many people from the New York City area moving to live on a farm. I mean, that's
No,
not what usually happens. They usually will get into some business that is like theirs in New York and just take it somewhere else, or they will invent a business, or they will simply retire and live in leisure.
right. Well, South Carolina is another very popular state for New Yorkers
Yes,
because it has all the attractions of Florida without some of the cost.
yes.
So South Carolina is very popular. Kentucky also, from what I read, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio has become very popular. So it's just sad to see blue states destroy themselves, but they apparently don't mind doing it.
No, no, because they have a voter base that they feel they can depend on,
Yeah.
and they do, unfortunately. So,
Well, they can
I don't.
depend on the voters, Bill. I agree with you on that one. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but I agree with you on the fact that they have the voters. But at some point, you got to have taxpayers.
That's
And,
exactly right.
and eventually, the taxpayers do have the last word, I think.
Well, they say the people running these states with all these quotas say, well, we think the taxpayers should pay more, should pay a lot more, because they have gotten everything, and that they can easily afford a tax increase, so that other people in the state can live a little bit more like them. That's the line. That's the line we're going to hear. And you know what always comes at the end? No justice, no peace.
That's right. Well, that's what they're saying. I guess that's why the owner of Starbucks is moving to Florida, and all these, very rich people are leaving California, and I think that's a crime. It's a terrible thing because we need a very profitable California. I mean, we need a strong California, a strong New York.
Absolutely.
We need 50 states that are doing well.
That's
That's what.
right. And
That's the best way.
California should have some way of recruiting large corporations that it used to have, and recruiting people from foreign countries to invest in businesses in America. I don't know if they even know how to do that.
Well, um, I don't. I mean, if they get one of these Republican governors, that might change.
Yes.
I sure hope so. But he's still going to have to face a wacko legislature.
Oh, the legislature is out of control. I mean,
Yeah,
they have all these people who discovered that if you run for the legislature, you can improve your situation a bit,
yeah.
and get a nice pension. The legislature in California is out of control. It's really completely devoted to the woke mentality. I wouldn't say I shouldn't have said, but mostly it's a large number in the
It's
legislature,
it's enough to
and
make a difference.
a very substantial difference because they control the schools.
That's right. No, it's a shame. I think it's a shame. I wish we could. Somebody should run with the slogan "Make California Great Again." There's a slogan for you. Well, let's talk about Iran because that is I guess the number one topic in the country today. We began this week thinking that there would be something happen within 48 hours. That was postponed by President Trump, and I guess now there's another deadline of 5 days. I don't know what is going to happen. I'm just going to say that I think something consequential is going to happen. Either an agreement is going to be reached or something is going to burn badly.
Yes. Well,
Some places in Iran are going to get hit like we have not seen places get hit in quite some time, Bill.
I think you're right. There's an old line in Hollywood, uh, uh, written by a Hollywood writer, who said, "Nobody knows anything," and he said that's his definition of the industry, and by which he meant all these so-called experts out there usually don't know any more about making movies than probably an average guy down the block. They've lost their whole feel for the making of movies. So he said, nobody knows anything. I think the Iran war is getting to be that way. I mean, I have no idea who the president, who I think is acting in good faith, I have no idea who he's talking to. And I just hope it's somebody who lives in Iran. I mean, maybe I don't know who. I mean, they're giving him, or not him personally, but this country a gift of some kind, which he said is worth a lot of money. Well, that's one thing, but we're fighting a war, and he is really in a situation now where no matter what happens this week, he's got to produce. He's got to produce. He will either produce a peace treaty of some kind, and and then instead of waving it around and saying, "I bring you peace in our time," the Neville Chamberlain line, he's got to show that it's going to improve our condition as a nation and the Middle East as as an ally rather than as an enemy. But he says the people he's working with are the right people because I don't know who the right people are. I don't know how long they have to live.
Well,
Uh,
Bill, if you were I'm going to be saying a joke here, but it is kind of funny. If you were one of those right people, would you want anybody to know? Because
no,
you
no,
might be the
no.
next target. You know.
I know a guy who was offered the post of defense minister
That's right.
with a 3-day contract.
That's right.
You know,
That's right. That's 3 days to get your money out of the country as soon as
yeah,
possible, and hopefully you can get out of the country as soon
yeah.
as
Well,
possible.
I think that they're ready to make deals with members of the old guard. The United States is to give them safe passage to another country,
Yeah,
and
that
that
would
would
be
be
good.
fine. Just get out of our way. And we're not interested in retribution, but he has got to produce. He's got to produce either a peaceful solution or a complete military victory.
Right.
Nothing in between, because this is his issue. We've talked about this before,
Hmm.
that this is the issue on which he will be judged. What
Right.
happened with Iran? And if it's the same old people staying in power and giving us a little nibble of something, that's not going to work.
No, it's not. So he's got, as I say, he's got to win. Now, I'm going to say something that may sound very partisan, and I guess it is partisan because I voted for Trump. But I actually trust Trump in
Yes,
making a deal that will be good for the country. I just think that, first of all, I think he knows what's on the line. I don't think what you just said right now, that he knows this is his issue. I think Trump knows that.
yes, I
So he
do.
doesn't need to read it in an editorial. He knows that. So he knows that. He knows everything's on the line. He also knows that he's got to get these gasoline prices down to where they were a month ago because the public doesn't like it. So
Yeah,
he's got that issue. And I think he also knows how consequential this change could be for the region, not just for Israel, but for the entire region.
yes,
So
absolutely.
I'm going to trust him. I'm not saying blind faith because I don't do that with anybody, but I'm going to trust him and say, okay, I'm going to give you, I don't know, 2 weeks or whatever. Maybe, I mean, I don't have to give him a time. I'm just going to say, I trust his instincts that he is on the right path. Now, I get these emails from sometimes from listeners or people who read my comment or my blogs at American Thinker or whatever, and they're telling me we've lost the war. We've
Yes.
lost the
Oh,
war.
how
Uh,
awful. Yeah.
yeah, we've lost the war. Uh, the president is lying. He's not talking to anybody. That's just, I mean, and I
It
go,
is, isn't it amazing to see the lack of public support for the president and the lack of Democratic Party support? I mean, there used to be a line that we used in this country: "Politics stops at the water's edge." Well, that may have not have been true for a number of years, but still, when you have troops in the field or planes in the air, you don't go after the president. You do
no,
the
I
best
think
you
the
can.
water's edge in this, and for the Democrats is Lake Michigan.
I'm
Because,
afraid. I'm afraid it is.
because man, these people they have no. The other thing too, Bill, and did you watch Fetterman, Senator Fetterman, the other day say something that I thought was so profound? He said, "Even if you don't, I'm paraphrasing him, but he said, even if you don't like Trump, you've got to like the idea that we're tearing down this regime."
Yes,
I
that's
mean,
right.
so
That's right.
even if you hate Trump, even if you spend your entire day hating Trump, and unfortunately, I know some people like that, you at some point you have to say, it's not a bad idea to debilitate this regime so that they cannot do October 7th again, for
Exactly.
example.
Well, and I think his reasons for beginning the action, the military action, and he said it himself. There are a number of reasons, but the top three are no nuclear weapons, no nuclear weapons, no nuclear weapons. That is the big thing here, and Americans simply do not get it. That if they had the atomic bomb, they might use it. And
Well, you saw what happened a few days ago, Bill. They
yeah,
fired that missile at Diego Garcia, like 2,000 miles away, or the island of Diego Garcia. It didn't hit the base, but it certainly, if I'm London or I'm Paris or I'm Frankfurt and I see that and I go, my gosh, that if that missile had come our way, they would have hit us.
yes, absolutely. And think of it as a nuclear missile.
Yeah.
You know, they are building intercontinental missiles in Iran, which have only one purpose: to carry a nuclear warhead. And we know that they're building them. They brag about it. They actually have shown movies of some of their missiles in test programs, and they're right in our face saying we're going to have this year, and in 2 years we will be even better. And anybody with any knowledge of military affairs knows they are being built to carry a nuclear warhead, and if they get it, we are going to be in some fix.
Well, Bill, you have to understand that those missiles are actually for Uber deliveries.
I think so. Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm sure that's true.
that's the next chapter of Uber. They're going to deliver food by missile, so they can deliver, lunch from 2,000 miles away.
Yes,
It's the latest Uber benefit, but no, but that's what bothers me most of everything about the criticism that you can. I mean, you can hate Trump. I mean, I've gotten to the point that I don't care how these people feel about Trump anymore,
yes.
because it's what if they hate Trump, go ahead and hate him. I mean, I just can't waste my time thinking about that. But I hope you hate Iran more than you hate Trump.
Well, I certainly hope so. Not the Iranian people, but the
No, of course
Iranian
not. The
regime,
Iranian government,
which
yeah.
used to be very favorable to the United States, and I think the people still would be in the event of a settlement. But you tell these people over and over and over the danger of nuclear weapons spreading. And after all you have to do is look at Nagasaki and Hiroshima in World War II and what they looked like after an atomic bombing. And yet it doesn't seem to register. And I'm beside myself to wonder why. What are they being taught in schools? I think we probably know. What are they being taught in universities? I think we probably know. We are not preparing our students for world responsibility, and that could be a catastrophe for this country.
Well, sometimes I wonder what they're being taught about Hiroshima.
Yes.
They may be taught that it was our fault,
Well, of
that
course. I mean,
that we didn't have to do that. We didn't have to drop that bomb. We could have negotiated just a little bit longer with the emperor, but we chose to. We thought it was imminent, so we dropped the. I mean, they're being taught a lot of crazy things. You're
of
right
course
about
they
that.
are. Of course
Yeah.
they are. And that's part of the problem, that the only people who can teach them uncrazy things are, as a generation, fading away.
Yeah.
It worries me.
No, you're right. And the other day I saw this video of Democrat after Democrat after Democrat talking about how dangerous Iran was and how they were planning to build a weapon. And the article was about, were these people lying too?
Right.
Because they basically said the same thing Trump was saying.
Hmm.
And the other thing too, Bill, that drives me nuts is this crazy thing about ground troops.
Yes.
Like, oh my God, we're never going to use ground troops again. Well, no, we're not going to send 160,000 into Iran. That's probably true. But sometimes ground troops, you need them to do certain things.
Yes. And also to scare the enemy. It's something that they see. If they see a ground army coming, they know they could wind up in prison in 2 days or worse. I find it very frustrating that these discussions are being held so publicly, where inevitably an enemy watching will listen to these public discussions and get a lot out of it, for themselves. I don't think in World War II we discussed tactics with the American people. We didn't say, well, we're about to invade Normandy and we want to discuss with you exactly how we're going to do this. If any of you have any new ideas,
That's
send
right.
them to George Patton in
Right.
Europe. He'll get it.
Yeah. Here's a suggestion box
Yeah,
for
suggestion.
any ideas for how to defeat Hitler. I don't. It could be a lack of maturity
I
on the
think
part
that
of
is
many
very much a
people.
part. I think the young generation today is remarkably immature.
Yeah. It could also be this. In fact, I think it is. A lot of it is this absolutely irrational hatred of Trump
Yes,
that has driven these people to a point where I think they have to go see a psychiatrist.
I think we should provide it at no charge.
Yeah.
I think it should be part of
Included with Obamacare, a
and
psychiatrist.
Medicare also.
Yeah, because at some point, they have to get Trump out of their heads and realize that this is an issue that a future Democrat president could be facing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Or ignoring.
That's
Or
right. That's right.
yes,
Well, the next time we get together, Bill, I know you don't like to make predictions, but I'm gonna call on you to not make predictions, but what do you think will happen? Let's say when we get together next Monday, what do you think? Iran, what do you think will be happening in Iran? Do you think we'll have a big deal, or do you think there'll be some big bombs dropping?
I have
Or
no
maybe there's
idea.
a third option. I don't
Well,
know.
the third option would be a continuing of negotiations
Okay. All right.
and saying, we are almost there. He has been saying it already about people who we don't know actually exist.
Right.
But it could be very dramatic. It could be he said enough. We're past the negotiating stage, and now we're in a new phase of this military action. It could be that he said we're close to an agreement. It is very foolish at this point to break off negotiations, and he would have that meeting in Pakistan that everyone is talking about. That they'll all meet in Pakistan. Uh, Maybe they don't want to go there, but they're going to meet anyway in Pakistan, and said it is foolish to change anything when we're doing so well, and that could work too. Nobody wants a war,
No.
so
But I guess
I,
what I said before, and I'll repeat it again, I am, for the time being, I am willing to trust President Trump on this.
you have to.
Now,
Yeah,
I may be changing my mind in a month, but I'm going to trust him that he's got the right instincts and that he knows what he's doing. I don't think that's being I don't. I mean, I don't think I'm being fanatical when I say that. I just simply
No,
say I'm going to trust him and see where he goes. I mean, he's going to be successful or unsuccessful no matter what happens.
yes,
So,
and the Democrats will always describe it as a tragedy, not as a victory. I mean, I hope if we get through this and get through it well enough to say we have done something great for humanity, that he has a real big parade in Washington for our soldiers, a real big one, and with the planes and everything. And if the Democrats don't like it, they could leave town and go to someplace like they like better,
right.
like
Well,
Iran.
that's right. That's right. If they can book a flight, they might be
Yes.
hard to get a flight to go there, but maybe somewhere else. Maybe they can go to Cuba and march in support of the Cuban people like these ladies did. That must have reminded you, Bill, of some of the early 60s when you had
Oh
these
yes. Oh,
revolutionaries going down to Cuba to cut sugar cane.
they were going to cut. Oh, I knew a lot of them at the university. They were going to with the big smiles on their face. We're going down to help the Cuban people
Right.
build an economy for themselves. And that's so naive. I mean, and simple minded, and uh, you would think that college students would have some sophistication, but I think that they really they were the all time greats of lack of any real understanding of the situation.
Yeah, these pink ladies, whatever they're called,
A code pink,
code pink
code
ladies, I
pink.
think they top the list
Oh,
of naive
they're
people.
insane.
That's right. They're not naive. They're insane. You're right. Well, Bill, thank you for your time as always, and we'll I'm sure have a lot to talk about next week. I just think there's something big is in the making here, good or bad. We'll see.
Yeah, well,
But
I
something
agree
big
with
is
you.
going to come, and for the
Something
time
big is
being, I'll
coming.
trust President Trump.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, have a great have have a great week, and thank you as always for your time.
It's my pleasure always. I look forward to next time.
All right, we'll do it again. Thank you, Bill. Our good friend, Bill Katz, the editor of Urgent Agenda. Always chat with him at least once a week to talk about what's happening. Of course, the big story this week is Iran. As I mentioned to Bill, I'm going to trust President Trump for the time being. I just have a feeling that he knows what he's doing. Thank you for listening. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody.